The star that sang goodbye. Once on a distant world, a young woman named Mira lived at the edge of a dying star. Now don't go imagining smoky skies or dust-choked valleys. Mira's world was not bleak. Quite the opposite. Her home, Elara, was a glowing crescent of forests and crystalline oceans, caught in an orbit around the great sun called Athriel. For generations, her people had lived in gentle harmony, knowing that someday, far, far off, their star would grow old. But the time came sooner than they expected. Athriel had begun to dim. Mira was the last of her family to remain. Her parents, gentle scientists and gardeners, had long ago accepted the invitation to board the great arcs and travel to a new system. Most had. The arcs drifted like lanterns across the sky now, bound for the colony moons around Seda. But Mira had stayed. Not out of fear, not even out of sorrow. She stayed because she loved the light, and she wanted to say goodbye. So there she stood, alone, atop the green hill behind her family's home, with a view of both the arcs receding into the dark and Athriel growing even larger on the horizon, its edges softening, its glow turning from gold to a pale, aching blue. She whispered, "Still." In the silence that followed, she thought of her father's voice, how he would sit beside her as a child, pointing to constellations, telling stories of ancient voyagers and explorers who followed starlight into the unknown. "You come from fire and dust, Mira," he'd say with a smile in his voice. "One day the stars will take you back. But don't hurry. The dance is long." And now, the dance was ending. Or maybe just changing tempo. Mira turned from the sky and stepped back inside the observatory dome. It was small, simple, part shelter, part lab, part memory. She had powered it with stored solar, enough to last the week. On the central table, a glass dome covered a growing sprout, the last whisper of her mother's garden. A tiny fern, its curls fragile and bright. She watered it gently and returned to the scope. The monitors showed the usual radiation flare patterns, the solar tide spikes, the deep, steady heartbeat of Athriel's collapse. But tonight there was a tremor, a low vibration humming through the data. Mira leaned in, listening. It sounded like a voice. Not a human voice, no, not a song in words, but something real, something that moved through her bones. She recorded the signal, ran the spectrum, slowed the waveforms, pulsed in threes. Whoom, whoom, whoom. Like a farewell. By morning, the sound had faded, but the sky had changed. The colors were deeper now, lavender and amber, and the birds had all flown. Mira stood with her arms wrapped around herself, watching leaves drift like sparks from the tall trees. The air carried a sweetness she couldn't name, like honey or memory. "I think it's really happening now," she said aloud, not to anyone in particular. She returned to her dome and activated the beacon, the emergency one. It wasn't for help. She knew help would take far too long. But it would record anything she sent: the readings, the images, the sound of her voice. It would carry the final days of Athriel across the stars. A message in a bottle. On the third day, she climbed the highest ridge to see the sea. The light shimmered over the waves in gold-threaded ribbons, brighter than she'd ever seen. Athriel filled half the sky now. It pulsed and breathed, its outer layers beginning to slow away like gauze, revealing the dense fire beneath. It was dying, yes, but beautifully. She sat down, legs tucked beneath her, and pulled out a recorder. She spoke plainly, with that soft steadiness she remembered from her father. "My name is Mira of Elera. Today, Athriel begins its Nova phase. I am alone, but I am not afraid." She paused. "I thought I would be, but I'm not. The light is warm. The world is singing. I think it's a good death, a real one." The breeze lifted her hair, and she closed her eyes, letting it carry her words into the wind. That night she dreamed of swimming in the sky, not falling but floating, through rivers of light and stardust. The constellations had names in her dreams, old names: Home Fire, Lantern's Kiss, the Bowl and the Flame. In the dream she heard the star's voice again, only this time it said her name. Mira. Not a warning, a blessing. On the fifth day, the signal from the last ark reached her, a brief, choppy message. "Mira, we see the flares. Are you all right? Please respond. Last window to transmit. We love you. Goodbye." She typed back, "I'm all right. I'll watch until the end. It's beautiful here." She pressed send, watched the message trail upward like a thread of light. Then she turned off the comms. It was time to go. Her escape pod wasn't much, a little glass egg tucked in beneath the observatory, more for science than safety. But it was functional, fast, and outfitted with the old AI her mother had named Sif. Quiet, calm, kind. "Sif," Mira said, buckling in. "Let's go." "Destination?" the AI asked. "Up." The launch was smooth, just a whisper of motion, then stars. Mira watched Elera fall away beneath her, the oceans, the forests, the hill where she stood, all shrinking to a jewel. then to a memory. She closed her eyes. When she opened them, Athriel filled the viewport. It was unfolding now, its outer shell curling into space like petals of flame. A million colors danced across its surface. Golds and rose, white blue, and deep ember red. The star pulsed once more, then slowly collapsed in silence. Mira wept, not out of fear or loss, but out of awe. She'd never seen anything so perfect. The AI chimed softly. Radiation within safe parameters. Trajectory aligned. Estimated time to rendezvous, 16 days. Mira nodded, then drifted. The stars shimmered around her like old friends. The vacuum hummed in her ears. Somewhere behind her, Athriel's light was still traveling outward, even in death. It would shine for 100,000 years before anyone on Sita even saw its goodbye. She pressed a hand to the viewport. "Thank you," she whispered, "for the light." When she woke hours later, the AI was playing a lullaby, one her mother used to hum while planting ferns. Mira smiled. She sat up, pulled out her recorder once more, and began her final log. "To whoever finds this." She paused. "No, not whoever. To you, the one who still wonders, who still looks up and asks, 'What if I stay?'" She smiled. It was worth it. And that, dear listener, is where we leave her. Floating safe, warm in the dark. The last voice of a world now gone. A girl who stayed behind to say goodbye to a star and found, in its ending, the most beautiful light she'd ever seen. Not a tragedy. Not even quite an ending. Just a lullaby. The dance goes on, and so does she.